Well, all right. Well, greetings, everybody, and really excited to be here, Tamer, with you, and involved here with the company and White Ops, and let's have a little fun if we can. It's the holiday season, and I'm really happy to be a part of this. So, my name's Dave DeWalt. For those who don't know me, been involved with the high tech world for a couple of decades now. I always hate saying that. I always feel old. But I've been a CEO of a number of companies, most notably McAfee for lots of years, and then FireEye and Mandiant. And now I've launched a whole platform called NightDragon, which is an investment platform where we essentially help advise and invest into companies that we find very interesting. So we've been building and growing NightDragon, which comes from a famous cyber attack, which for all those who love the cyber industry, you got to name your company after a famous cyber attack. So NightDragon was named after a famous Chinese attack in the oil industry back in like 10, 12 years ago or so. And it was a seminal moment for me when I was CEO of McAfee to see the depth and breadth of the cyber sort of attacker landscape, and to really see advanced persistent threats at the scale that was happening. So I said if I ever named a company and founded one, it would be called NightDragon. So here I am. Got NightDragon going, and we've been investing in the coolest companies in the world and working with them. So pleasure to work with you and the company as well in ways that I hope to really help make an impact for the company. So lots of fun, and excited to be with you. And likewise, why don't you introduce yourself too? I'm sure everybody knows you, but and explain that human shirt for a second, if you would, because I want one of those.
Self-declared human, not a robot, allegedly. My name is Tamer Hassan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of White Ops. We specialize in bot mitigation globally and now account takeovers. Essentially our technology is about ensuring the real and right human is on the other end of the screen. We started this journey back in 2012. Around this idea of unraveling and understanding the bot problem on the internet, which evolved, ultimately into if you can look like a million humans, what can you do? The answer is a lot of things, everything from account takeovers to fraud and abuse in advertising and media, and a lot in between. We grew from there, to more broadly digital fraud and abuse, and what we think of as account integrity problems and use cases on the internet. I'm happy to be here today. Our technology continues to grow and become implemented across different markets and verticals. Yeah.
Tamer, I can't say how proud I am of you and the team for building what I think is one of the coolest, I don't know, I always like to say coolest platforms, but one of the most important platforms in the world. I really see, fraud as one of the biggest challenges we're facing now in the world. I always talk about it like a perfect storm, in that, with COVID here and the pandemic crisis and sort of the economic crisis and every other crisis of climate and cultural that we have, everybody's online, and the digital inertia is unbelievable. I mean, we can see it every day. The way in which businesses are interacting online is just expanding and expanding, and the technology that's out there to generate bots and to drive traffic from AI-induced bots is just growing and growing. And so, this is a danger that has been around for a while, but is being, accelerated in ways that we have never imagined. And now it's ubiquitous, right? I mean, it's not just your websites but it's your social engines and commerce engines, and it's everywhere now. Marketing and advertising's everywhere, and bots are, creating impressions on that everywhere. And I think that you've created, and really proud of you for creating one of the most important platforms. I forget the number now, how many trillions you see a week. It's rarely do I see cyber companies who can measure anything in trillions, but it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's been such an amazing path, and we have an amazing team that's been behind this from the beginning. It's the first ever account takeover product in history to be built on a corpus of 10 trillion events a week, over 10 trillion events a week, and we continue to grow and scale. And it's around this idea that we will win with collective protection. This idea of all of us fighting the battle individually on our own islands, doesn't work. I think we've all learned that, and we talk a lot about collaboration. The idea here is that collaboration, which is great, can't happen on the scale and the time scale of days and weeks with people. It has to happen at seconds with technology. So our view is this idea of collective protection across different verticals, whether you're in advertising and media, e-commerce, financial services, or another application on the internet. An attack on one is protection on all, and knowledge is inherently a part of the collective. That to me is one of the most exciting things. Is just I had the pleasure of working with amazing people on this team, and then amazing customers now that believe and they see it as well, and they want to be a part of it. It's really about changing the economics of fraud, making it more expensive for bad actors than for all of us to defend, which, as you know, and our audience knows quite well, has been the thing that is out of whack in defensive security and has been for some time. So that is the mission statement of the company, is to change the economics of cybercrime. And we're doing that with collective protection, deception, and a variety of other methods and techniques to change the cost factor of fraud.
Tamer, I would say, in my 20 years of running cyber companies, especially with the things I learned right now, when you look at the strongest companies in the world, they have three characteristics, and you have all three in my mind. You have what I call cloud, crowd, and AI. Right. So what you just talked about was this collective intelligence that 10 trillion events a week and analyze can do for you to protect the neighborhood, to protect the crowd. And when you look at the strongest companies, and not to sort of name CrowdStrike, but we did this at FireEye when I was CEO, trying to create a crowd that enabled everyone to be protected. And what's CrowdStrike done the same thing. What have you done? The same thing. And every customer who joins White Ops' community benefits from that crowd, from that collection, and that's very powerful. And when you sort of put that cloud and crowd together with the machine learning underneath it to process 10 trillion events and do that at speeds that are needed for these types of management of fraud, it's almost an instant thing you got to do. You put that all together, and I think those three things generate greatness. And tribute to the team yet again about putting that together as a vision. And when you look at a lot of the products that I see on the market, they just haven't figured out how to do that much data science and ingestion, take advantage of that crowd, and do it in a way that's scalable around the world. So pretty impressive.
Thank you. Thank you.
Why don't you say a little bit about the products for a minute, to the team? I know you got a lot going on, marketing, advertising, and then edge security areas with anti-bots. I think the world would like to hear some of the things you're doing there.
Yeah, it's been such a fascinating problem to work on from the beginning. It started off with the idea and the notion when we were in stealth mode is there a human on the other end of the screen or not? And, as I was saying earlier, that evolved to, if you can look like a million humans, what can you do? And the answer is a lot of things. I mean, everything from account takeovers and fraud and abuse and application security to changing the popularity of a website, or sniping and scalping of goods in e-commerce, or scraping of sensitive data. We've even picked up on bots designed to listen to music on streaming media platforms because there's some value in making a song more popular. So what has emerged is a marketplace of activity to buy and sell around any interaction on the internet you can think of, from a vote to a like to a social action to listening to a song to logging into an application, to all of the banking events and e-commerce events that can be there. So it's been a fascinating problem and an important one. The evolution underneath that has also been important. Where it used to be, bots are servers running at a data center that are easily picked up on. What we've seen is bots becoming more and more human-like over the last 10 years. And that essentially evolves to these botnets that are our own machines and devices that are being used to do this activity. So, you know, it's our own laptops. It's my daughter's iPad with all the games that I should have policed better running in the background, right? That creates a million machines to be used for these use cases. So that's the common thread that we see. The important aspect of the product strategy at White Ops is about tackling it across verticals. So we have 3 products in the suite today, and that's growing. The latest one is application integrity. That's around the integrity of an account and all of the events around it. It's the classic account takeover problem, automated account generation, credential stuffing, and and all the events beyond that. One of our other products is called marketing integrity. There's so much activity on the internet about driving people, real humans, to products and websites, and we see a lot of digital fraud and abuse in that area. So this is a product that ensures that marketing campaigns are all human, that traffic coming to websites are all human, and prevents a lot of the damage that comes later, which is interesting. It gets into data being skewed. I mean, we're making decisions on data that and metrics that aren't accurate. It gets into advertising spend and media spend on targeting. You know, all of that becomes manipulated with this problem. And then, you know, on the advertising side, fraud and abuse in advertising, there's a lot of dollars lost with non-human activity, just bots interacting with content and media that generate a multi-billion-dollar loss in ad spend there. So it's something that we see as a common problem, and you know, the idea of you know, protection across the market verticals is what makes the product strategy really work here.
Sorry, my coffee machine went off earlier, so I apologize to everybody on that one. It's the perils of working from home, I guess, and doing Zooms, right? I was like trying to find the mute button. My apologies, but thank you for that summary. You know, and I really think about great companies sometimes, and I talked about those sort of three areas of technology, but you just alluded to sort of the other power here is the amount of industries that touch and need technology like this, right? Vertical industries, but also the various applications that you support. I mean, you talked about the music example, you know, but you can talk about it from content in every way. I mean, right now, you know, we see one of the biggest threats happening in the world is misinformation, false news, fake news, call it whatever you want, coming from fake identities, coming from bots. And, you know, you can hardly go, you know, a minute online right now without seeing, you know, something that was obviously auto-generated from a bot point of view. Why don't they have any followers? But why are they responding to that tweet or that piece of information? Or why are they on that website? Or how are they taking advantage? And your example, I think, is a big one. Every company I know, and I sit on some large company boards, you know, we're all about like trying to take advantage of this inertia in the digital transformations with marketing. You know, omni-channel marketing, right? We got to take advantage of it. How do we market on Instagram? How do we market on our website? How do we market through email and every other channel? But how do we optimize that? And how do we know we got value in return for all that marketing spend? Yeah, they came back and said you got, you know, X millions of impressions. Well, were the impressions humans or the impressions bots? And I know you have some examples of customers that I'd love for you to just, you know, at least from an example point of view about what percent they're seeing improvement in some of those areas. I was amazed at some of the stats that, you know, I saw there where they were seeing X improvement. I'll let you talk about it, but the amount of spend and then the return that they get on impressions versus really what they thought they were getting from humans seeing it, it's a pretty big gap, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. And what's interesting is that it has layers of return. You know, the first layer we always think about is the loss of fraud of dollars to fraud and abuse, right? We don't, you know, you want to plug that hole. But, you know, as we go further into the value stack, you know, what's become apparent is that there are bigger damages and impact to this problem. You know, the idea that our data doesn't have integrity. Like when we're looking at our analytics and making business decisions on what we think our real humans are doing on our product or our website, that has a tremendous intangible value. The other side of the product that we get pulled into quite a bit, this problem, is not just preventing the bad stuff, but minimizing the friction on the real humans, right? That's a tremendous industry and a tremendous opportunity for value, and it's where we get pulled to immediately. So it's about preventing dollars, but also about lowering friction on all the real human users. Now, in the case of omni-channel marketing, as an example, we quickly see the value add up. First in eliminating all the wasted spend, but then in all the redirected spend that is redirected towards real humans, it's that opportunity loss that was there, starts to really add up. And not only that, all the other tools that we use. Think about the CRM tool that you use. You pay by user. Whether you're using something in Adobe or Salesforce, number of humans that you are essentially going after. And if 20% of those are not real, that's a real part of your bill, right? So it gets into analytics and secondary impacts on how we spend our money. When we start to, it's almost like a stitch in time saves nine, right? Like when you start to stitch it up at the top, it has layers of effects down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love your passion, by the way. It's kind of fun. One of my favorite things to do these days, after I sort of retired as CEO after 17 years and 68 quarters, is live vicariously through founders and other CEOs and their passion. And you have it. Spend a minute. I would love to hear, because I've heard a little bit, but I wanted some of the others to hear that. I love the X factor. I love the intangible about what motivates you. And, tell them a little bit about your background for just a second, because you have an amazing story with the Air Force and backgrounds that you have. And then a little bit of the vision of what you see for this company going forward. And like, what do you see today's point A, what's point B? What does it look like? And, I'd like to hear it again, and I know the audience would.
Yeah, thank you. So I started off my early career in the Air Force. I was an engineer by trade. I went to the Air Force Academy to be an engineer and build things. By the time I got to my final year at the academy, ready to be commissioned as an officer, that was about the time that 9/11 hit. And so two things were apparent. We were entering this area where there was going to be a conflict and a need for real work to be done. And then, the other thing that was obvious to me by the time I was a senior at the Air Force Academy was that most of the engineers in the Air Force don't actually do the building or designing, we manage the contract. So what I decided, I had the opportunity to fly. They gave me the opportunity to fly aircraft. So I decided I'd take that path and become an aviator. And I went on to be commissioned and went to pilot training soon after. And over the course of my first 10 years in the Air Force, I had the opportunity to learn about 7 different aircraft and become licensed and certified, both in fixed wings and then ultimately in the machine that I fell in love with, which was what's called a Pave Hawk. It's essentially a Black Hawk, that helicopter that's been modified for search and rescue with a lot of technology and equipment. And my career was in the combat search and rescue field as a Pave Hawk helicopter pilot. And that was an amazing mission and an amazing learning ground. To talk about pulling apart a problem. When you're the task is to rescue or pull somebody out, behind enemy lines with a bunch of variables that are going to change. It represents a lot of what we deal with in cybersecurity. It was my first exposure to some of what became founding elements of this company, the OODA loop, we called it, right, which is a part of military doctrine that has been adopted in the Fortune 1000 in business. So this idea that we go through a series of steps to respond to an adversary or a competitor, observe, orient, decide, act, right? So I had applied this continuously and on missions from a tactical sense. One of my co-founders also applied it his work in defense from a cybersecurity perspective, and it's how we think about the problem long term. But the thing that I take away, it's just so interesting. When I was leaving the Air Force after 15 years, essentially, and people thought I was crazy. Like I had this, it was amazing. 5 years from retirement, I could retire early. Amazing team, amazing mission, and the message was always consistent. Like, you can go to the private sector, but and you're going to make more money, but you're never going to find the mission or the family or the team that you get in here. And they're valid points, but they've consistently shown to not be the case for me. I think I've just been incredibly fortunate to find amazing people, and then to find this mission where look, like, this is an integrity of the internet problem, knowing whether there's a human there, as you pointed out. It's fundamental to so many aspects of what we do, that there's it's important work. And so I thought I love flying, but the opportunity to build something and to take to find a new mission and a new team has never disappointed me at all. So it's been quite a transition.
One of the things I love most, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you, by the way, you have the ultimate kind of 3 H's that I always love: humility, honesty, and hard work, right? And to be a great CEO, I always believe that those are the things that it takes in life. But you also have my favorite word. And one of my favorite words is perspicacity. Have you ever heard that word? Perspication. Yeah, it's a pretty cool word. Whenever you can use 5-syllable words, kind of thing, you got it. But perspicaciousness is all about, can you see yourself as others see you? And you have that, and that humility is amazing. But also, this company has that, which I think is cool. Perspicacity. You can see others, and you can determine humans from bots. And it's maybe we can make a marketing after that one day. But yeah. And I appreciate that, and I love the vision of this company. So where are we going to be a year from now? What are you trying to do? And we can wrap this thing up a little bit, but where do you see the vision?
Yeah, so the real opportunity in front of us, and look, like, part of the thing that's exciting to me about working with you, Dave, is that you've built what we call at White Ops a company of consequence multiple times, and that there's a handful of companies that are companies of consequence for the internet and for the better of technology in general. And you've seen it multiple times, and that's always been our endeavor from when we started the company. Is this is an important problem. We're going to go right to the heart of it, and we want to build a company of consequence. So this next journey, this next phase for us, is really about that idea of collective protection. We're entering new spaces with the account takeover problem. We're entering new verticals to tackle fraud, and we're starting to build this foundational layer for this idea of collective protection across markets and verticals. So it's really about going from a single product to a multi-product company, and bringing that vision across multiple verticals. That's what's in front of us for the next 12 to 24 months.
Company of consequence. I love that. That'll be my new saying. I love that. Right. And you talked about this with your career, is like, mission is really important. And I love working with companies who have a mission that can, I hate to say solve world peace, but in a way, if you can really create integrity on our internet and eliminate fraud and use the crowd and the neighborhood and the collective nature of all your customers to solve a big problem, that's a company of consequence. And I'd be proud to work with you for a long time, and look forward to working with White Ops and the company. And thanks for having me, and let's have fun.
Likewise. Thank you, Dave. This has been a pleasure.
All right. Thanks.